Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if the Omnitrix merged with Ben permanently. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The Fusion, Ben. On your left. I spun just in time to see a crate flying at my face. Great. Just another Tuesday night. I dove and rolled across the cold concrete floor of the warehouse, the massive shipping container missing me by inches. Got it covered. I shouted, twisting the Omnitrix dial. The familiar green holographic displays cycled through my alien roster. Come on, give me something useful for once. I slammed down on the dial, feeling that rush of energy as my body transformed. But instead of Humongosaur like I wanted, I got Spider Monkey. Again. I screeched, looking at my blue-furred arms. Seriously, this thing has a mind of its own. Across the warehouse, Kevin absorbed the metal from a nearby pipe, his body transforming into living steel. Less complaining, more fighting, Tennyson. The abandoned research facility outside Bellwood was supposed to be empty. That's what Grandpa Max's intel had said, anyway. Instead, we'd walked straight into an alien tech smuggling operation. At least 20 guys in black tactical gear were scrambling around us, some human, others definitely not, all armed with tech that definitely wasn't from Earth. Gwen's hands glowed with pink mana as she erected shields to block incoming fire. We need to secure whatever they're after. Kevin, check those containers. I leapt onto the ceiling, crawling rapidly above 3 goons who were firing energy weapons wildly in Gwen's direction. Hey uglies. Up here. They looked up just as I shot webbing from my hands, covering their faces. They stumbled backward, clawing at the sticky substance while I dropped down behind them. A quick sweep of my tail knocked them off their feet. Ben. They're loading something onto that truck. Gwen called out, pointing toward the loading dock where a massive shipping container was being winched up. I scurried across the ceiling, getting a better look. On it. The container had strange markings, not plumber standard, and not like any alien language I recognized. Whatever was inside, these guys were in a hurry to move it. That was reason enough to stop them. Achoo. My unexpected sneeze sent me tumbling from the ceiling. So much for my awesome entrance. I landed hard on the concrete, rolling to my feet as 2 smugglers turned their weapons on me. That's the Tennyson kid, one shouted. Take him down first. They fired, but I was already moving, bouncing off walls and equipment. You guys really need to work on your aim. Kevin had reached the truck and was grappling with the driver. This tech is level 9. Restricted even for most plumbers. Level 9. Gwen sounded worried as she trapped 3 more goons in mana bubbles. That's Galvan experimental territory. A blast caught me in the shoulder, sending me spinning. I recovered midair, landing in a crouch. Whatever it is, it's not leaving with these jerks. The Omnitrix symbol on my chest started flashing. No, no, no. Not now. The familiar beep preceded a flash of red light, and suddenly I was just Ben again. The 2 smugglers grinned at me. Bad timing, hero, one said, leveling his weapon. I dove behind a stack of metal drums as energy blasts tore into them. The Omnitrix was in recharge mode, the dial red and unresponsive. Come on, come on. I muttered, tapping it frantically. Don't do this to me now. A massive crash drew everyone's attention. Kevin had torn the back doors off the truck. Guys! You need to see this, he shouted. The smugglers panicked. Secure the device. Now. Their leader barked orders as they converged on Kevin. I used the distraction to sprint across the warehouse floor, dodging between crates. Gwen was already moving toward Kevin, shields up. What is it? She called. Kevin stepped back from the truck, holding something that looked like a silver sphere with green circuitry patterns running across its surface. No idea, but it's giving off energy readings like crazy. The smuggler leader saw what Kevin was holding and actually looked scared. "Put that down, you idiot. It's not stable. Ben, get over here." Gwen shouted, creating a mana platform that lifted me over the remaining guards. I landed next to Kevin, getting my first good look at the device. It was about the size of a basketball, pulsing with green energy that looked eerily similar to the Omnitrix's power signature. "It's Galvan Tech," I said, recognizing some of the patterns. "But modified with something else." The Omnitrix suddenly beeped, the dial turning green again. Finally. "Let's finish this up," and the sphere in Kevin's hands began to vibrate violently. "Drop it!" Gwen yelled, but it was too late. The device erupted with tendrils of green energy, snaking through the air like lightning. One tendril wrapped around my wrist, directly connecting with the Omnitrix. Pain shot up my arm as the device and the watch seemed to communicate with each other. "Ben!" Kevin shouted, dropping the sphere and reaching for me. The Omnitrix began cycling through alien forms on its own, faster than I'd ever seen. The dial spun wildly as green light enveloped me. I tried to pull away, but the energy tendril had fused me to the sphere. "What's happening?" I gasped, watching in horror as the Omnitrix began to sink into my wrist. Not detaching, merging. "Everyone back." The smuggler leader was already retreating. "It's a DNA fusion accelerator. It's unstable." Gwen tried to cut the energy connecting me to the sphere with her mana, but the energy just absorbed it. "Kevin, we need to get that thing away from him." Kevin tried to grab the sphere again, but the energy shocked him back. "Can't touch it." The pain was getting worse. I could feel the Omnitrix heating up, melting into my skin. Green lines like circuit patterns began spreading up my arm. "Guys, something's really wrong here." The warehouse was emptying as smugglers fled. Smart move, honestly. The sphere was now pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat, each pulse sending another wave of alien DNA coding through my system. "Hold on, Ben." Gwen created a bubble around all three of us, trying to contain whatever was happening. The Omnitrix gave one final, blinding flash of light. The sphere cracked open, releasing a wave of energy that slammed into me. I heard Kevin and Gwen shouting, but their voices seemed distant as my vision filled with green light. The last thing I remember was falling to my knees as the Omnitrix disappeared completely beneath my skin. Then darkness. Fluctuations in his DNA structure. Never seen anything like this. Omnitrix signatures are everywhere in his system. Voices faded in and out. My eyelids felt like they weighed a ton. Everything hurt, like I'd gone 10 rounds with Vilgax without going alien. "He's waking up." That was Gwen's voice, close by. I forced my eyes open, blinking against harsh light. I was in a plumber medical bay, surrounded by monitoring equipment. Gwen and Kevin stood by my bedside, with Grandpa Max talking to a plumber medic near the door. "Welcome back to the land of the living," Kevin said, relief evident in his voice. I tried to sit up, immediately regretting it as pain shot through my body. "What happened?" My voice sounded strange to my ears, like it had a slight echo. Gwen put a hand on my shoulder. That device was some kind of experimental DNA fusion accelerator. It interacted with the Omnitrix when you were connected to both. I looked down at my wrist, expecting to see the familiar green and black watch. Instead, my skin had a faint green tint, with circuit-like patterns running just beneath the surface. "Where's the Omnitrix?" Kevin and Gwen exchanged glances. "That's the thing, Ben," Gwen said carefully. "The Omnitrix isn't gone. It's inside you." "Inside me? What does that even mean?" I examined my arms more closely. The green patterns pulsed slightly, following my veins and arteries. Grandpa Max approached the bed. The device was designed to fuse different DNA structures together. When it connected with the Omnitrix, it started merging the watch's technology with your human DNA. I stared at him. You're saying the Omnitrix is literally becoming part of me? How is that even possible? Azimuth is on his way, Grandpa Max said. If anyone can figure this out, it's him. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, ignoring the protests from both my body and my family. I feel weird. Different. That was an understatement. My skin tingled all over, and I could hear conversations from down the hall like they were happening right next to me. You should rest until, Gwen started, but stopped when I stood up. It happened in an instant. One moment I was moving at normal speed, the next I was across the room by the door. Everyone stared at me. Did I just? I looked back at the bed, easily 15 feet away. XLR 8 speed, Kevin said. But you didn't transform. I looked down at my hands again. Still human looking, except for the faint green patterns. But I'd definitely just moved with XLR 8's super speed. Try something else, Kevin suggested, looking intrigued. Kevin. Gwen glared at him. What? If he's got alien powers without having to transform, that's pretty cool. I focused on my right arm, thinking of 4 arms. Nothing happened for a moment, then my muscles tensed and I felt a surge of strength. I reached out and gripped the metal frame of the bed, squeezing slightly. The frame crumpled like aluminum foil. Whoa! I jumped back, releasing the bed. Grandpa Max moved closer, examining my arm. The Omnitrix seems to be giving you access to your alien's abilities without actual transformation. That's awesome. I wasn't sure if I should be excited or terrified. The medical bay door slid open, and a plumber entered. Sir, Magister Tennyson, Azimuth has arrived. The diminutive Galvan creator of the Omnitrix walked in on the plumber's shoulder, looking as grumpy as ever. He hopped down onto my bed and scrutinized me. What have you done to my Omnitrix this time, Ben Tennyson? He demanded. Me? I didn't do anything. We were stopping some smugglers when this weird sphere thing connected to the watch and, Azimuth held up a hand. A sphere with green circuitry patterns. Approximately 27 centimeters in diameter. Kevin nodded. Yeah, that's it. How'd you know? Because it was stolen from my laboratory on Galvan Prime 3 weeks ago, Azimuth said grimly. It was a prototype DNA fusion accelerator, designed to help species with genetic diseases by temporarily merging their DNA with healthy donor patterns. Temporarily? I repeated. So this will wear off. Azimuth's expression became even more serious. The prototype was unstable. It was never meant to interact with technology as complex as the Omnitrix. The fusion it created between you and the watch is progressing rapidly. Progressing? What does that mean? Gwen asked. It means, Azimuth said, scanning me with a small device, that the Omnitrix isn't simply inside Ben's body. It's merging with his DNA at a cellular level. Every moment, the fusion becomes more complete. My mouth went dry. Can you reverse it? Azimuth was silent for a long moment. I don't know. Those 3 words from the smartest being in 5 galaxies hit me like a truck. So I'm stuck like this. Half human, half Omnitrix. My voice cracked. For now, yes, Azimuth said. I need to run more tests to understand exactly what's happening to your DNA. Grandpa Max put his hand on my shoulder. We'll figure this out, Ben. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. My whole body felt foreign, humming with energy I couldn't control. I need a drink, I finally said, needing something normal in this completely abnormal situation. Kevin smirked. Mr. Smoothie. Despite everything, I smiled. You know it. The Mr. Smoothie parking lot was nearly empty, which was fine by me. I wasn't sure I was ready for a crowd of people seeing the green lines visible on my neck and hands. I'd borrowed a hoodie from Kevin to cover up as much as possible. One mango blueberry blast, Gwen said, handing me my favorite smoothie. I took a sip, then froze. The cup in my hand was suddenly covered in frost, the smoothie inside turning solid. What the, dude, you just froze your smoothie, Kevin said, staring at the iced-over cup. Big chills powers, I muttered, setting the cup down. I wasn't even trying to use them. Gwen frowned. The abilities seemed to be manifesting randomly. Great. So I could suddenly burst into heat blast flames in the middle of a conversation. As if on cue, my hand warmed dramatically. I quickly set it on the metal table, which immediately began to glow red where I touched it. Like that, Kevin said, jumping back as the table began to melt. I pulled my hand away, concentrating on cooling down. The heat subsided, leaving a hand-shaped depression in the table's surface. Sorry about that, I told the wide-eyed employee watching from the counter. Why, you're Ben Tennyson, he stammered. You can have all the tables you want, man. Kevin snorted. Fame has its perks. I sank lower in my seat, pulling the hoodie tighter despite the lingering heat in my body. This is a disaster. How am I supposed to live like this? I could hurt someone without even meaning to. Gwen's expression softened. We'll help you control it, Ben. I had to learn to control my anodite powers, remember? And I've dealt with being able to absorb stuff my whole life, Kevin added. You'll adapt. My phone buzzed. Julie. With everything that had happened, I hadn't even called her. Hey Julie, I answered, trying to sound normal. Ben. Where have you been? I've been calling since last night. She sounded worried. Sorry, there was an incident. I'm okay, though. What kind of incident? She asked, suspicion in her voice. After dating me for over a year, she knew incident usually meant alien problem. I'm at Mr. Smoothie with Gwen and Kevin. Want to meet up? I'll explain everything. There was a pause. Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I ended the call, anxiety churning in my stomach. How am I supposed to explain this to Julie? The truth would be a good start, Gwen said. She's handled weirder things since dating you. Yeah, but this is different. I'm different. I looked down at my hands, watching the green lines pulse beneath my skin. I'm not even sure what I am anymore. You're Ben Tennyson, Kevin said with surprising firmness. Watch or no watch, weird powers or not. I appreciated the sentiment, but I wasn't convinced. How could I be the same Ben when my DNA was being rewritten by the minute? Julie arrived on her motor scooter, Ship in his small blob form riding in her basket. She spotted us and waved, parking and heading over. The moment Ship saw me, he started making agitated beeping sounds. What's wrong, Ship? Julie asked, looking from her pet galvanic mechamorph to me. Her eyes widened as she noticed the green lines visible on my neck. Ben, what happened to you? I took a deep breath. The Omnitrix is kinda fusing with me. Fusing? What does that mean? She sat down across from me, concern written all over her face. It means I'm turning into some human Omnitrix hybrid, I said, rolling up my sleeve to show her the more pronounced circuit patterns on my arm. And I can use alien powers without transforming, except I can't control when they activate. As if to demonstrate, my vision suddenly shifted, and I could see the heat signatures of everyone around me. Heat blasts thermal vision. Your eyes just turned orange, Julie said, leaning back slightly. I blinked hard, and my vision returned to normal. See what I mean? It's like having all my aliens trying to come out at once. Ship hopped onto the table, stretching toward me cautiously. Being a galvanic mechamorph, he could probably sense the technology merging with my body. He beeped questioningly. Yeah, buddy, it's still me, I said, carefully reaching out. Ship extended a small tendril, touching my finger. The contact sent a strange tingle up my arm, like static electricity. Ship. Ship. The little alien pulled back, circling me excitedly. Julie frowned. Ship seems to think you're compatible now. Something about your energy signature. Great, even the technology thinks I'm not human anymore. I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Julie reached across the table, taking my hand despite the green lines pulsing across it. You're still Ben. We'll figure this out. Her touch helped ground me, reminding me that whatever was happening, I wasn't alone. But I could see the worry in her eyes, feel the slight tremor in her hand. She was trying to be supportive, but this scared her too. Before I could respond, a commotion erupted from the street. People were running, screaming about men in armor. I didn't need 3 guesses to figure out who that might be. Forever Knights, Kevin said, already on his feet. I stood, scanning the area. Sure enough, a squad of knights in full armor was approaching, energy lances at the ready. Their leader stepped forward, pointing directly at me. Benjamin Tennyson. Our sensors detected alien technology activating at this location. His visor lifted, revealing a middle-aged man with cold eyes. But I see we're too late. The corruption has already begun. What are you talking about? I demanded, stepping forward. Gwen moved to my side, mana glowing around her hands. Our new sensors can detect when alien DNA activates, the Knight Commander said. We've been monitoring you for some time, Tennyson. But this. He gestured to the visible changes in my appearance. This confirms our worst fears. You're becoming one of them. I'm still human, I insisted, though the words sounded hollow even to me. Not for long. The knight raised his lance. The Forever Knights cannot allow an alien infiltrator with your powers to remain. Especially one hiding in human form. He's not hiding anything. Julie stepped in front of me, surprising everyone. Ben's been protecting Earth for years. The Knight Commander's expression hardened. Stand aside, girl. This doesn't concern you. Kevin absorbed the metal from a nearby bike rack, his skin transforming. Actually, it concerns all of us. Ben Tennyson, the commander called out, surrender yourself for containment, or we will be forced to take action. I felt anger rising inside me, along with something else, power, surging through the green lines in my skin. I'm not going anywhere with you. Then you leave us no choice. The Knight Commander signaled, and his men raised their weapons. Julie, get back, I said, gently pushing her toward the Mr. Smoothie building. The knights fired, energy beams cutting through the air toward us. Gwen raised a mana shield, blocking the initial volley. Ben, can you use your powers? She asked, straining to maintain the shield under the barrage. I don't know how to control them. I focused, trying to summon Diamond Head's crystal abilities, but nothing happened. Kevin charged forward, his metal form deflecting the knight's energy blasts. He tackled 2 of them, sending them crashing into their comrades. Figure it out fast, Tennyson, he shouted, ducking under a lance swing. The knights were advancing despite Gwen and Kevin's efforts. I needed to do something, but how could I use powers I couldn't control? A blast got through Gwen's shield, striking near my feet. The explosion threw me backward, sending me crashing into the Mr. Smoothie sign. As I hit the ground, pain shot through my body, and something clicked. The green lines across my skin glowed brighter, and suddenly I could feel them, all my aliens, their powers humming just beneath the surface of my consciousness. Not separate transformations anymore, but aspects of myself. That's it, I whispered, pushing myself up. It's all me now. I stepped forward, feeling forearm strength flowing into my muscles. My arms didn't multiply or grow larger, but I could feel the raw power nonetheless. I charged at the nearest knight, grabbing his lance and snapping it in half. What manner of abomination are you becoming? The knight gasped, backing away. I didn't answer, instead focusing on XLR 8 speed. The world slowed around me as I accelerated, disarming 3 more knights before they could even react. When one tried to tackle me from behind, I instinctively phased through him like Ghost Freak, causing him to stumble through my intangible form. This is, actually pretty cool, I admitted, solidifying again. The Knight Commander aimed a larger weapon at me. Contain the alien threat, he ordered. The weapon fired a net of glowing energy. I raised my hands defensively, and to my surprise, Diamond Head's crystals formed over my arms like gauntlets, deflecting the net back at the knights. Whoa! I looked at my crystallized arms in amazement. They weren't completely transformed, my human shape remained, but covered in the alien material. Kevin had taken down several knights and grinned at me. Now you're getting it. The remaining knights regrouped around their commander, who pulled out a small device. This isn't over, Tennyson. You've proven our point, you're becoming an alien threat to humanity. I'm protecting humanity, I countered, the crystal receding from my arms. From jerks like you. For now, perhaps. The commander's voice was cold. But for how long? How human are you still, beneath that alien corruption? How human will you be tomorrow? Next week? Next year? His words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I had no answers to those questions. We'll be watching you, Tennyson, he said, activating the device. A flash of light erupted around the knights, and when it faded, they were gone, teleported away. I stood in the middle of the parking lot, breathing hard. The green patterns on my skin were glowing brightly before gradually dimming to their previous state. Julie approached cautiously. Ben. Are you okay? I'm not sure, I admitted. The rush of using multiple alien abilities was fading, leaving me drained and confused. Did you see that? I used like 4 different alien powers without transforming. Gwen nodded. It seems the Omnitrix is fully integrating with your system. You're accessing the alien DNA directly now. But the Forever Knights have a point, Kevin said, his metal coating receding. If this fusion keeps progressing, what happens to your human side? I didn't have an answer. Looking at my reflection in a nearby window, I could see the changes more clearly now, the green lines tracing patterns across my skin, the slightly altered shape of my eyes, now tinted with an unnatural green glow. We need to talk to Azimuth again, Gwen said, putting her hand on my shoulder. He needs to know about these developments. I nodded, still staring at my reflection. The person, or whatever I was becoming, looking back at me seemed increasingly unfamiliar. Ben. Julie's voice pulled me back to reality. She looked worried, but determined. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, okay? I wanted to believe her. I really did. But as I felt the alien DNA continuing to merge with my own, changing me from the inside out, I couldn't help but wonder if there would be enough of the original Ben left for her to face anything with. Yeah, I said anyway, forcing a smile. Together. Plumber headquarters was buzzing with activity when we arrived. Word of my condition had spread fast, and I could feel eyes on me as we made our way through the facility. Some looks were curious, others concerned, and a few, the ones that bothered me most, were fearful. Azimuth had commandeered one of the labs, transforming it into a workspace worthy of Galvan Prime. Holographic displays filled with DNA sequences and technical specifications hovered in the air. The small alien was moving between displays, muttering to himself. Azimuth, I called out. Any progress? He turned, eyes widening slightly as he took in my appearance. The fusion is progressing faster than I anticipated. The green biocircuitry is more pronounced. Yeah, and I can use alien powers now, I said, demonstrating by briefly igniting my hand with Heat Blast's flame before extinguishing it. Sometimes by choice, sometimes not. Fascinating, Azimuth hopped onto a hovering platform to examine me at eye level. The Omnitrix's transformation matrix is now directly interfaced with your nervous system. You're accessing the alien DNA as extensions of yourself rather than as separate forms. Can you reverse it? Gwen asked the question we all wanted answered. Asmatha's expression grew grim. I've been analyzing the fusion process. The DNA fusion accelerator was experimental technology, designed to make temporary genetic modifications. But its interaction with the Omnitrix created something unprecedented. That doesn't answer the question, Kevin pointed out. Because I don't have a definitive answer yet, Asmath snapped. The fusion is still ongoing. Your DNA, Ben, is being rewritten at a fundamental level. The Omnitrix was designed to keep human and alien DNA separate, with clear transitions between forms. That separation no longer exists. I sat down heavily on a nearby stool. So I'm turning into some kind of human-alien hybrid permanently? In simple terms, yes. Asmath projected a new hologram showing a double helix with green energy woven through it. This is your DNA currently. The green energy is the Omnitrix's transformation matrix, integrating with your genetic code. It's not just giving you access to alien abilities, it's incorporating them into your very being. Julie, who had insisted on coming with us, stepped closer to examine the hologram. Will he still be Ben? I mean, will his personality change? It was a question I hadn't even thought to ask, and suddenly I was terrified of the answer. Asmath considered for a moment. Core personality traits are a complex interaction of genetics and experiences. While his physical form and capabilities are changing, his memories and fundamental identity should remain intact. However. He hesitated. However what? I pressed. Some aliens in the Omnitrix have instincts and thought patterns quite different from humans. As their DNA becomes part of you, you may experience shifts in perspective. Great. Not only was my body changing, but my mind might start changing too. Grandpa Max entered the lab, looking tired but determined. Asmath, the plumber high command is requesting an update on Ben's condition. Tell them it's complicated, Asmath said dismissively, returning to his work. They're concerned, Grandpa Max said, his voice lowering. Some are suggesting Ben should be quarantined until we understand the full implications of this fusion. Quarantined? I stood up, anger flaring. I'm not a disease. No one's quarantining anyone, Grandpa Max assured me. I told them you're under my personal supervision. But the damage was done. Even the plumbers, the organization I'd worked with for years, saw me as a potential threat now. Maybe they're right, I said quietly. If I can't control these powers, I could be dangerous. You controlled them just fine against the Forever Knights, Kevin pointed out. After nearly melting a table at Mr. Smoothie, I countered. What happens if next time it's a person I accidentally hurt? Gwen stepped forward. Then we train. I can help you with energy manipulation. Kevin can help with physical transformations. Between all of us, we can help you master these new abilities. I concur, Asmath said, surprising everyone. The fusion cannot be reversed at this stage without potentially fatal consequences to Ben. The most logical course of action is adaptation. So that's it. I just accept that I'm turning into, whatever I'm becoming. I couldn't keep the frustration from my voice. For now, Asmath said. I will continue searching for a method to stabilize the fusion, to give you greater control. But yes, Ben Tennyson, you must accept your new reality. The lab fell silent as his words sank in. My new reality. One where I wasn't fully human anymore, where my very DNA was a hybrid of human and alien. I need some air, I muttered, heading for the door. No one tried to stop me as I left the lab, making my way through the plumber facility. I ignored the stairs, keeping my head down as I headed for the surface exit. Once outside, I leaned against the wall of the disguised facility, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there were the home worlds of all the aliens whose DNA was now becoming part of me. Pyros, Koros, Petropia, and dozens of others, planets I'd never even visited, yet their inhabitants' genetic material was merging with my own. Mind if I join you? Julie's voice came from behind me. I shrugged, not turning around. Free country. She moved to stand beside me, following my gaze to the stars. Beautiful night. Yeah. We stood in silence for a while, the weight of everything that had happened settling between us. Are you scared? She finally asked. I considered lying, putting on a brave face. But what was the point? Terrified, I admitted. I don't know what I'm becoming, Julie. The Omnitrix was always something I wore, something I could take off. Now it's part of me, changing me into something, not human. Does being human matter that much? She asked, surprising me. I mean, you've been turning into aliens for years. You've seen more of the universe than anyone else on Earth. Maybe being something new isn't so bad. I turned to look at her. But what about us? What about my future? I had plans, Julie. College, maybe joining the plumbers officially. Normal stuff, between saving the world. Now I don't even know if I'll still look human in a week. She reached out, tracing one of the green lines on my hand. You're still Ben to me. Human, alien, or something in between. That hasn't changed. I wanted to believe her, but I saw the hesitation in her eyes. This was uncharted territory for both of us. Ben. Gwen's voice called out. She was running toward us, phone in hand. We've got trouble. What now? I sighed, already exhausted from the day's events. Dr. Onimo has been spotted at the Natural History Museum. He's got some new device that's reanimating fossil specimens. Classic Onimo. At least some things never changed. Can it wait? I'm kind of going through something here, I gestured to my increasingly alien appearance. Gwen shook her head. The police are already there, but they're outmatched. One officer is in critical condition. And just like that, my personal crisis had to take a back seat. Whatever I was becoming, I was still a hero first. I'll handle it, I said, straightening up. Where's Kevin? Already on his way with the car. I turned to Julie. Sorry, duty calls. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Go. I'll check on you later. Kevin's car screeched to a halt in front of us, and I jumped in. As we sped toward downtown Bellwood, I tried to focus on the mission ahead rather than the changes happening to my body. So what's the plan? Kevin asked, weaving through traffic. You going to try out your new combo powers on Onimo? I don't know if I can control them well enough yet, I admitted. I might end up doing more damage than Onimo. Gwen, sitting in the front passenger seat, turned to look at me. You controlled them against the Forever Knights when it mattered. Trust yourself, Ben. The museum came into view, surrounded by police cars with flashing lights. Officers had established a perimeter, but it was clear they were outmatched. Through the museum's glass front, I could see animated dinosaur skeletons moving inside. Here goes nothing, I muttered as Kevin parked. We approached the police line, where a sergeant recognized us immediately. Tennyson. Thank goodness. Onimo's gone completely insane this time. He's reanimating everything in the prehistoric exhibit. What else is new? I stepped forward, then noticed the sergeant staring at the green patterns visible on my skin. It's a long story, I added quickly. Whatever. Just stop that lunatic before he sets those things loose on the city. We pushed through the museum doors, immediately confronted by the sight of a fully assembled Tyrannosaurus skeleton charging toward a group of security guards. I got this. I focused, channeling Diamond Head's abilities. Crystal formed over my right arm, extending into a blade. I charged forward, slicing through the T-Rex's leg bones. The skeleton collapsed, the animation energy dissipating. Not bad, Kevin said, absorbing stone from a nearby column. One down, about a dozen to go. Throughout the main hall, more prehistoric specimens were coming to life, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and even a giant sloth, all animated by glowing red energy. Gwen created mana platforms, elevating herself above the fray. Onimo's in the main exhibit hall. I can see him with some kind of control device on it. I started forward, then paused as a strange sensation spread through my body. The green lines on my skin brightened, and suddenly I could sense the energy animating the fossils. It was like Ghost Freak's ability to perceive energy fields, but different, enhanced somehow. The energy's unstable, I realized. Onimo's device is barely holding it together. Then let's shut it down before these things fall apart all over the city, Kevin said, smashing a reanimated prehistoric bird that had dived at him. We fought our way through the museum, dealing with animated specimens at every turn. I found myself instinctively switching between alien abilities, heat blasts flames to create a fire barrier, XLR-8 speed to evacuate trapped civilians, forearm strength to hold back a charging mammoth skeleton. The more I used the powers, the more natural it felt. Not separate transformations, but aspects of myself I could call on at will. Maybe this fusion wasn't so bad after all. We reached the main exhibit hall to find Dr. Onimo standing atop a platform, surrounded by equipment he'd clearly stolen from various labs. A device on his head amplified his brain waves, connected to a larger machine pulsing with red energy. Tennyson, he cackled upon seeing us. You're just in time to witness the dawn of a new prehistoric age. My Paleolithic reanimator will bring extinct species back to life across the globe. Yeah, heard it before, I called up to him. Give it up, Onimo. Your bony friends aren't exactly built to last. Onimo's eyes narrowed as he took in my appearance. What's this? The great Ben Tennyson has changed. Your energy signature is fascinating. His expression shifted from surprise to malicious interest. Part human, part alien technology. What an intriguing specimen you'd make. I'm nobody's specimen, I growled, feeling Wrath's aggression bubbling up unexpectedly. I tamped it down, focusing instead on Jetray's energy projection abilities. My hands glowed with neuroshock energy. Stay back. Onimo warned, adjusting dials on his headgear. One step closer and I'll overload the reanimator, releasing enough energy to animate every fossil in a 50-mile radius. Ben, he's not bluffing, Gwen said, her eyes glowing as she scanned the machine. That thing's putting out massive energy readings. I hesitated, the neuroshock energy still crackling around my hands. If Onimo overloaded his device, we'd have an army of prehistoric creatures rampaging through Bellwood. What do you want, Onimo? I asked, playing for time. His eyes gleamed with mad excitement. A trade, Tennyson. You surrender yourself to me for study, and I'll shut down the reanimator peacefully. Not happening, Kevin snarled, stepping forward. Onimo's finger hovered over a red button. Then Bellwood becomes Jurassic Park. I felt the different alien instincts within me clamoring for attention. Wrath wanted to charge in recklessly, Gray Matter was analyzing the machine's weak points, Ghost Freak suggested possession. But I needed something else, something uniquely suited to this situation. Then it hit me. I didn't need to use just one alien's abilities. I could combine them. Fine, Onimo, I said, raising my hands in apparent surrender. You win. I'll come quietly. Ben, no. Gwen protested. Trust me, I murmured as I walked forward slowly. Onimo grinned triumphantly. A wise decision. Now ascend the platform, slowly. I complied, climbing the steps to his platform. Up close, I could see the reanimator's inner workings, a complex array of stolen tech cobbled together with Onimo's twisted genius. Fascinating, Onimo said, studying my changing appearance. The Omnitrix energy has merged with your cellular structure. You're becoming a hybrid life form. Something like that, I agreed, now standing directly in front of him. I can't wait to dissect you, he said, reaching for a control panel. After I secure these restraints, I moved. Ghost Freak's intangibility combined with XLR8's speed let me phase straight through Onimo and his controls. The moment I was behind him, I solidified, grabbing his headgear with forearm strength and Heat Blast's heat. The metal warped in my grasp. Onimo screamed as I yanked the device off his head, breaking the connection to the reanimator. "No! What have you done?" he cried as the machine began to power down. "Improvised," I answered, crushing the headgear to scrap metal. Without its control mechanism, the reanimator began to destabilize. Red energy arced wildly from its core. "It's going to explode," Gwen shouted, already creating a mana shield. I focused on Diamond Head's abilities, covering my body in crystalline armor. Then I wrapped my arms around the reanimator's core, using the crystal to contain the imminent explosion. "Get back!" I ordered as the machine's hum reached a fevered pitch. The reanimator detonated in my arms. The force was tremendous, but my crystal armor held, absorbing and redirecting the energy. When the dust cleared, all that remained was a smoking heap of twisted metal in my arms, encased in green crystal. I dropped the ruined device, letting the crystal armor recede. Throughout the museum, the animated specimens collapsed as their energy source disappeared. Onimo stared at me in shock. "Impossible. The energy release should have vaporized this entire building." Kevin approached, metal coating still covering his arms. "Guess you didn't account for Tennyson 2.0. Plumber agents streamed into the museum, securing Onimo and beginning cleanup operations. I stepped away from the platform, suddenly exhausted. Using multiple alien powers simultaneously took more out of me than I'd expected. Gwen came to my side, concern evident. "You okay?" "Yeah, just tired." I looked down at my hands, where the green lines seemed to have spread further, creating more complex patterns. "But did you see that? I combined powers from 4 different aliens at once." "It was impressive," she admitted. "And terrifying. The amount of energy you just contained would have leveled a city block." I hadn't considered that. The raw power now at my disposal was on a whole different level from what I could do with individual transformations. Grandpa Max entered, surveying the scene with experienced eyes. "Good work, kids." His gaze settled on me, taking in my appearance and the destroyed reanimator. "Ben, how are you holding up?" "Fine," I lied. In truth, I felt strange, powerful but unstable, like I was constantly on the edge of losing control. The alien instincts I'd tapped into during the fight lingered at the edges of my consciousness. "Azimuth wants to see you back at headquarters," Grandpa Max said. "He's made some discoveries about your condition." I nodded, too tired to argue. As we headed out of the museum, reporters had gathered, shouting questions. Ben Tennyson. Is it true you're undergoing some kind of transformation? Are you still human, Ben? Is this a new alien form or something else?" Their questions echoed the fears growing in my own mind. I pulled up my hood, avoiding the cameras as we pushed through to Kevin's car. The words out, Kevin observed as we drove away. "Your changing appearance isn't exactly subtle." "Great. So now I'm going to be headline news as the kid who's turning into an alien." I leaned my head against the window, watching the city pass by. "People will adjust," Gwen said, though she didn't sound entirely convinced. "They've accepted your transformations before." "This is different," I said quietly. "Before, I always turned back to normal. This time." I left the thought unfinished. Back at Plumber headquarters, Azimuth was waiting, his expression grave as he examined my new appearance. "The fusion has accelerated," he stated. "Your demonstration of multiple alien abilities at once has catalyzed the process." "Is that bad?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Azimuth projected a new hologram of my DNA structure. The green energy had spread further, creating complex patterns throughout the double helix. The transformation matrix is rewriting your genetic code at an exponential rate. At this pace, the fusion will be complete within days. Complete? Gwen asked. What does that mean for Ben? It means, Asmith said, looking directly at me, that Ben Tennyson as a purely human entity will cease to exist. In his place will be a new hybrid species, part human, part Omnitrix technology, part alien DNA from every species in the Watch's database. The lab fell silent as his words sank in. I wasn't just changing, I was becoming something entirely new. Something that had never existed before. Can't you stop it? Julie asked, having rejoined us at headquarters. There must be something you can do. The process has gone too far, Asmith replied. Any attempt to reverse it now would likely destroy both the Omnitrix matrix and Ben's original DNA, resulting in cellular collapse. So I'm just supposed to accept that I'm turning into some kind of alien hybrid? I couldn't keep the anger from my voice. That everything I was, everything I planned to be, is just gone. Not gone, Asmith corrected. Transformed. You will retain your memories, your core personality. But yes, your physical form and capabilities will be permanently altered. I turned away, unable to process what he was saying. My whole life had been about using the Omnitrix to help people, to be a hero. But I'd always been Ben Tennyson underneath, a normal kid who could take the watch off. Now that distinction was disappearing forever. I need to be alone, I said, heading for the door. No one tried to stop me this time either. I made my way through the plumber base, ignoring the stares and whispers. I found a small observation deck overlooking Earth from the orbiting station section of headquarters. The view usually calmed me, but today it just reminded me of how different I was becoming from the planet below. I don't know how long I sat there before Grandpa Max found me. He settled into the seat beside me without speaking, just watching Earth rotate slowly beneath us. You know, he finally said, when I first joined the plumbers and learned about aliens, I thought I'd never see the world the same way again. He gestured at the planet below. And I was right. But it didn't make Earth any less my home. I glanced at him. This is different, Grandpa. I'm not just learning about aliens. I'm becoming one. Are you? He turned to look at me directly. Or are you becoming something new? Something that bridges human and alien in a way no one ever has before. I hadn't thought of it that way. I don't know how to be whatever I'm turning into. No one does, he said gently. That's the thing about life, Ben. None of us get instructions for who we're supposed to be. We figure it out as we go. But most people don't have alien DNA rewriting their cells, I pointed out. True. But change is part of life for everyone. He put his hand on my shoulder. You've always adapted, Ben. From the moment you found the Omnitrix as a 10-year-old kid. This is just the next step. His words helped, but they didn't erase the fear of the unknown stretching before me. What if I lose myself in this transformation? What if I forget what it means to be human? Then we'll remind you, Grandpa Max said simply. Family doesn't let you forget who you are. The intercom system buzzed to life. Magister Tennyson and Ben Tennyson to the command center immediately. We have a situation. We exchanged glances before hurrying to the command center. On the main screen was a news broadcast showing the Forever Knights addressing a crowd in downtown Bellwood. Proof that alien contamination threatens humanity itself, the Knight Commander was saying. Ben Tennyson, once hailed as Earth's protector, is being transformed by alien technology. Today, we call upon all humans to stand against this corruption. The camera panned to show a crowd holding anti-alien signs, some specifically targeting me. My stomach churned at the sight. They're using your transformation to fuel anti-alien sentiment, Grandpa Max said grimly. And they're gaining support. On screen, the Knight Commander held up a device. This detector can identify alien genetic signatures hidden among us. Ben Tennyson is just the most visible example, but how many others walk among us, disguised as human? They're going to start a witch hunt, Gwen said, entering the command center with Kevin and Julie. We need to shut this down before it gets out of hand, Grandpa Max decided. Ben, I know this is difficult timing, but, I need to face them, I finished for him. Show people I'm still me, still trying to protect Earth. Are you sure? Julie asked, concern evident. They're clearly trying to provoke you. I looked at my reflection in a darkened monitor screen. The green patterns had spread further across my skin, and my eyes now had a permanent green tint to them. I barely recognized myself. But Grandpa Max was right, this was still me, changed but not gone. I'm sure, I said, straightening my shoulders. It's time to face whatever I'm becoming, publicly. Kevin nodded approvingly. That's the Ben Tennyson I know. Charging headfirst into trouble. Despite everything, I smiled. Some things really didn't change. Azimuth hopped onto a console near me. Before you go, Ben, there's something you should know. My analysis of your DNA shows that the fusion will stabilize eventually. When it does, your appearance and abilities will reach an equilibrium state. So I won't keep changing forever. That was the first good news I'd heard. Correct. But I cannot predict exactly what your final form will be, nor what powers you will retain. As long as I'm still me inside, I can handle the rest, I said, with more confidence than I felt. We took Kevin's car down to the surface, heading for the city center where the Forever Knights were rallying. As we approached, I could see the crowd had grown larger, some protesting against aliens, others counter-protesting in support of alien-human cooperation. This could get ugly fast, Gwen observed as we parked a block away. I took a deep breath, pushing back my hood. There was no hiding my appearance now. The green biocircuits covered much of my visible skin, pulsing slightly with energy. Let's do this. As we walked toward the rally, people began to notice me. Conversation stopped. Phones came out, recording. Some people backed away, while others moved closer, curious or supportive. The Knight Commander spotted me from his platform and pointed. Behold! The alien corruption made flesh. This is what becomes of humans who embrace alien influence. The crowd's reaction was mixed, gasps, murmurs, a few shouts of support for me, countered by angry calls from the anti-alien faction. Let me through, I said, moving toward the platform. The crowd parted, some people reaching out to touch me, others recoiling. I reached the platform and looked up at the Knight Commander. You wanted me here? Well, I'm here. Let's talk. There is nothing to discuss, alien, he spat. Your transformation proves everything we've warned about. Does it? I countered, raising my voice so the crowd could hear. Or does it just prove that change is possible? That humans and aliens can coexist, even as part of the same being? I stepped onto the platform, facing both the commander and the crowd. I'm still Ben Tennyson. I've saved this city, this planet, more times than I can count. The Omnitrix gave me the power to be a hero, to protect both humans and peaceful aliens who call Earth home. You are becoming the very thing you claimed to protect us from, the commander accused. No, I'm becoming something new, I said, echoing Grandpa Max's words. Something that might help bridge the gap between Earth and the rest of the universe. The commander's face twisted with disgust. Listen to yourself. You speak of replacing humanity with alien hybrids. I'm not replacing anyone, I insisted. I'm still me. Still the same person who's fought to protect everyone on this planet, human or alien. Prove it, the commander challenged. Prove you're still Ben Tennyson and not some alien imposter. Before I could respond, an explosion rocked the far end of the square. Screams erupted as people began running. Through the smoke, I could see massive shapes moving, Dr. Onimo's prehistoric creatures, now enhanced with modern animals and technology. Onimo escaped. Gwen shouted, already summoning her mana. Perfect timing, I muttered. Then louder to the crowd, everyone get to safety. Now. The Forever Knights drew weapons, aiming at both Onimo's creatures and me. This is what alien influence brings, the commander shouted. Chaos and destruction. No, this is what happens when humans like Onimo abuse science, I countered. And I'm going to stop it, just like always. I focused, calling on multiple alien abilities simultaneously. Forearm strength filled my muscles. XLR-8's speed perception slowed the world around me. Diamond Head's crystals formed protective armor over my chest and arms. I charged toward the nearest of Onimo's creations, a saber-toothed tiger spliced with rhinoceros DNA and cybernetic enhancements. The beast roared, charging at me with surprising speed. We collided in the center of the square. The creature's strength was immense, but my combined alien abilities gave me the edge. I grappled with it, eventually managing to flip it onto its side. Crystal extended from my hand, forming restraints that pinned the hybrid creature to the ground. More of Onimo's creations poured into the square. Gwen and Kevin engaged them, while the Forever Knights retreated, their anti-alien rhetoric forgotten in the face of actual danger. Ben! Gwen called out, pointing to a building where civilians were trapped by one of the larger creatures, a mammoth gorilla hybrid with mechanical limbs. I focused on Heat Blast's pyrokinesis, sending a controlled stream of fire at the creature's feet. It backed away from the flames, giving the civilians an escape route. Get to safety. I shouted to them, maintaining the fire barrier. As I fought, I found myself slipping into a rhythm, drawing on different alien abilities as needed. Wildmutt senses to track creatures I couldn't see. Upgrades technopathy to disable the cybernetic components. Swampfire's regeneration when one beast managed to slash my arm. The green patterns on my skin glowed brighter with each power I used, spreading further across my body. I could feel the transformation accelerating with the energy I was expending, but there was no time to worry about that now. Where's Onimo? I called to Gwen as we regrouped after taking down several creatures. There. Kevin pointed to a nearby rooftop where the mad scientist was controlling his creatures with a new device. Cover me. I focused on Stinkfly's wings, feeling them form from my back without completely transforming me. I took to the air, flying awkwardly at first but quickly gaining control. Onimo saw me approaching and smiled maniacally. Ah, Tennyson. Your transformation progresses beautifully. Soon you'll be the perfect specimen. Not interested in being your lab rat, Onimo. I landed on the rooftop, retracting the wings. But you already are, he cackled. Your DNA is rewriting itself before my eyes. The perfect fusion of human and alien. This isn't about me, I growled. It's about you unleashing monsters on innocent people. Merely a demonstration, Onimo said dismissively. And an opportunity to observe your evolving abilities. I lunged at him, but he activated a shield around himself. Not so fast. My creatures respond to this control module. Destroy me, and they go berserk. I paused, assessing the situation. Below, Gwen and Kevin were containing the creatures, but barely. Civilians watched from the perimeter, phones recording everything. Including me, with my increasingly alien appearance and abilities. What do you want, Onimo? I demanded. A trade, he said, eyes gleaming with madness. I'll recall my creatures peacefully if you agree to come with me for study. Imagine what we could learn from your transformation. Not happening, I said flatly. Then watch your precious humans suffer. He adjusted a dial on his controller, and the creatures below became more aggressive, breaking through Gwen's barriers. I needed to end this quickly. Looking at the controller in Onimo's hands, I focused on upgrades technopathy, reaching out with my mind to the device's circuitry. I could sense its components, its programming. What are you doing? Onimo asked, noticing his controller beginning to spark. Something new, I replied, maintaining my concentration. The controller began to glow green as I accessed its systems remotely, overriding Onimo's commands. Impossible, he exclaimed as the controller sent new signals to his creatures. Below, the hybrid beasts suddenly stopped attacking, becoming docile. Possible when you're part galvanic mechamorph, I said, advancing on him. His shield flickered and died as I seized control of that system too. Onimo backed away, fear replacing madness in his eyes. Your transformation is more complete than I realized. What are you becoming, Tennyson? It was a question I'd been asking myself, but now, in this moment of clarity, I had an answer. I'm becoming what I need to be, I said, reaching out to take the controller from his unresisting hands. Someone who can protect Earth from threats like you. Plumber agents swarmed the rooftop, taking Onimo into custody. I handed over the controller, explaining how I'd reprogrammed it to pacify the creatures. Impressive work, Ben, the agent in charge said, though I noticed he kept a careful distance from me. I nodded, suddenly aware of how I must look to them. During the battle, the transformation had accelerated significantly. My skin was now more green than human-colored, the biocircuits creating intricate patterns across my body. I could feel that my facial features had shifted slightly, becoming more angular. I made my way back to the square, where Gwen and Kevin were helping clean up the aftermath. The crowd had returned, watching from behind police barriers. I could see the mix of fear, awe, and curiosity in their expressions. The Forever Knight commander stood with his knights at the edge of the square, his anti-alien rhetoric silenced by what they'd witnessed. As I approached, he didn't back away, but his hand tightened on his weapon. Still think I'm the threat? I asked him. I think, he said carefully, that power like yours is dangerous, regardless of who wields it. Maybe, I acknowledged. But it's how that power is used that matters. I turned away from him to address the watching crowd. I know I look different. I am different. The Omnitrix is becoming part of me, permanently. I don't know exactly what I'll become when the transformation is complete, but I promise you this, I will never stop protecting this planet and everyone on it. There was a moment of silence, then someone started clapping. Others joined in, the applause spreading through the crowd. Not everyone participated, some still looked uncertain or afraid, but it was a start. As the plumbers finished securing Onimo's creatures, Grandpa Max approached me. That was well handled, Ben. Both the fighting and the aftermath. Thanks, Grandpa. I looked down at my hands, the alien patterns now covering them completely. But I'm changing faster now. The fight accelerated the process. He nodded, concern evident in his eyes. Let's get you back to headquarters. Azimuth will want to examine you. As we walked to Kevin's car, Julie fell into step beside me. That was amazing, what you did up there. Just the usual save-the-day stuff, I said, trying to sound casual despite my exhaustion. No, she insisted. The way you talked to those people, the way you handled both Onimo and the Forever Knights. You're still you, Ben. No matter what you look like. Her words meant more than she could know. As we drove back to Plumber headquarters, I found myself coming to terms with my new reality. I was changing, becoming something between human and alien, but my core remained. I was still Ben Tennyson, still a hero. And maybe, just maybe, this transformation would allow me to be an even better one. Chapter 2, The Evolution. 3 days after the showdown with Onimo, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the person staring back. Well, this is new, I muttered, touching the small crystalline formations emerging from my left shoulder. They were clear green, catching the light like faceted emeralds. The transformation had accelerated dramatically. My skin now had a permanent green tint, interlaced with darker circuit-like patterns that pulsed with energy. My eyes had changed completely, solid green with black, diamond-shaped pupils. My hair was still brown, but streaked with jade. I pulled on a hoodie, wincing as the fabric caught on the crystal protrusions. The clothes I'd worn my entire life suddenly felt wrong on my changing body. My phone buzzed on the counter. Another news alert about me. I'd stopped reading them after the first day, when the headlines shifted from Ben 10 Transformation Mystery to Is Ben Tennyson Still Human? Good question. I wasn't sure of the answer myself. A knock at my bedroom door interrupted my thoughts. Ben. You up? Mom called through the door. Her voice was careful, measured. She was trying so hard to act normal, but I could hear the worry underneath. Yeah, I'm up, I called back, pulling my hood forward to shadow my face. It had become a habit. I opened the door to find both my parents waiting. Dad held a tablet showing a news broadcast. Great. Honey, there's something you should see, Mom said gently. I took the tablet. A reporter stood outside Bellwood High School, my school, with a somber expression. Following growing concerns from parents, the school board has issued a statement regarding Ben Tennyson's enrollment status. Citing safety considerations and disruption to the learning environment, Tennyson has been placed on indefinite leave until, quote, the full extent and implications of his transformation can be assessed. Back to you, Tom. I handed the tablet back without comment, a hollow feeling spreading in my chest. Kicked out of school for being too alien. Awesome. We're fighting this, Dad said firmly. They can't discriminate against you because of what? I interrupted. Because I'm turning into some kind of human-alien hybrid? Pretty sure there's no law against that kind of discrimination yet, Dad. Ben. Mom reached out, hesitating before touching my face. I tried not to notice how she flinched slightly at the feel of my altered skin. It's fine, I lied. I've got plumber stuff anyway. School's the least of my worries. Mom and Dad exchanged that look, the one parents give when they're having an entire conversation without words. I'd seen it more often since my transformation began. Gwen and Kevin are waiting downstairs, Mom finally said. And Julie called. She wants you to call her back. Julie. Another complicated situation. She was trying to be supportive, but I could see the struggle in her eyes every time my appearance changed further. I couldn't blame her. Thanks. I'll head out with them now, I said, brushing past my parents and down the stairs. Gwen and Kevin were in the living room. Gwen looked up from her book, eyes widening at the sight of me. Whoa, the crystal shoulder is new, Kevin noted, standing up from the couch. Yeah, appeared this morning, I said, grabbing a smoothie from the fridge. Diamond Head DNA, I guess. Gwen approached, examining the crystals. Does it hurt? Not really. Just feels weird. I took a long drink of my smoothie, then stared at it. Huh. I can't taste it anymore. That's new too. Your sensory perception must be changing, Gwen suggested. Different aliens perceive flavors differently. Great. Add that to the list of human experiences I'm losing, I muttered. Oh, and by the way, I've been kicked out of school. We saw the news, Gwen said, anger flashing in her eyes. It's ridiculous. You've saved that school multiple times. Yeah, but now I'm too scary looking for the precious students, I said, a bitter edge creeping into my voice. Kevin shrugged. School's overrated anyway. Now you can focus on hero stuff full time. That's not the point, Kevin, Gwen snapped. They can't just exclude Ben because he looks different. Actually, they can, I said, setting down my now tasteless smoothie. And they did. Let's just go. We headed out to Kevin's car, me keeping my hood up and head down. Smartphones appeared as soon as we stepped outside, neighbors surreptitiously filming the alien boy next door. Ignore them, Gwen whispered, squeezing my arm. Kinda hard when you're turning into the world's biggest freak show, I replied. Kevin's car purred to life, and we peeled away from the curb faster than necessary. As we drove toward Plumber headquarters, electronic billboards flashed news headlines. My face, or rather, my increasingly alien face, appeared on several of them. Ben 10, human or alien, one screamed. Tennyson transformation triggers concerns, announced another. Seems like you're getting more famous, Kevin remarked, nodding toward the billboards. Yeah, but not for the right reasons, I said. Before, I was the kid who could turn into aliens to save people. Now I'm the kid who's turning alien permanently. Gwen turned in her seat to face me. You're still saving people, Ben. That's what matters. We passed a building where graffiti had been freshly sprayed, "Aliens Go Home," with a crude drawing of me underneath. I sank lower in my seat. Not to everyone, apparently. Plumber headquarters was buzzing with activity when we arrived. Grandpa Max met us at the entrance, his face grim. Ben, we've got a situation developing, he said without preamble. The Forever Knights are holding an anti-alien rally downtown. They're using footage of your transformation to stir up fear. Let me guess, I'm their poster child for alien corruption. I asked. Grandpa Max nodded. They've got a new scanner they claim can detect alien genetic signatures in apparently human individuals. They're using your case as proof that aliens are infiltrating society. Great. So now I'm not just a freak, I'm a propaganda tool, I said. We've also got reports that Dr. Onimo escaped custody during transfer, Grandpa Max continued. He was rambling about the perfect specimen before he disappeared. 3 guesses who he was talking about, Kevin muttered. But first things first, Grandpa Max said, leading us deeper into the facility. Azimuth wants to see you. He's been analyzing your latest test results. We entered the lab where Azimuth had set up his equipment. The Galvan was studying a holographic display showing what I recognized as DNA molecules interlaced with glowing green energy. Benjamin, Azimuth acknowledged without looking up. Your transformation is progressing faster than anticipated. Tell me something I don't know, I said, pulling back my hood to reveal my increasingly alien features. Like when it's going to stop. Azimuth finally turned, eyes widening slightly at the crystalline growth on my shoulder. Fascinating. Petrosapien DNA expressing itself physically. Yeah, super fascinating, I said dryly. Any idea how much more I'm going to change? Am I going to end up looking completely alien? Azimuth adjusted his display. Based on current progression, I estimate your transformation will stabilize within another Earth week. As for your final appearance. He hesitated. That bad, huh? I asked. Not bad. Unprecedented, Azimuth corrected. You are becoming something entirely new, Ben. A hybrid species with aspects of human and multiple alien DNA sequences, bound together by the Omnitrix's transformation matrix. But will I still look human enough to walk down the street without causing a panic? I pressed. Azimuth's silence was answer enough. Wonderful, I sighed. So I'm going to be stuck in Plumber headquarters for the rest of my life? Your appearance will be distinctive, Azimuth admitted. But not monstrous. Elements of your human form will remain, integrated with alien characteristics. Any good news? Gwen asked. Actually, yes, Azimuth said, bringing up a new display. The Omnitrix's safeguards are still functioning within Ben's DNA. They're preventing incompatible alien traits from expressing and stabilizing the integration. Without them, the transformation would be chaotic and likely fatal. So at least I'm not going to die. That's something, I said. Furthermore, Azimuth continued, your ability to access and control alien powers is improving exponentially. The Omnitrix was designed to allow separate transformations. Your new form allows simultaneous access to multiple alien abilities, something I never anticipated. It would be cool if I could control when and how they manifest, I said, thinking of my newly tasteless tongue and crystal shoulder. That will come with time and practice, Azimuth assured me. Your body and mind are still adjusting to the fusion. The lab door opened, and Julie walked in. She stopped short when she saw me, her eyes widening at my newest changes. "Wow," she said softly. "That's different from yesterday." "Yeah, I'm changing fast now," I said, suddenly self-conscious about my appearance. "The crystal shoulder is new. And the eyes." She approached cautiously, studying my altered features. I couldn't read her expression, and that scared me more than anything. "Does it hurt?" she asked, echoing Gwen's earlier question. "No. Just feels strange." Julie reached out hesitantly, her fingers stopping just short of touching the crystals. "May I?" I nodded, holding my breath as she gently touched the green facets. Her fingers traced the edge where crystal met skin, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "It's warm," she said, sounding surprised. "I thought it would be cold." "Petrosapien crystals aren't like earth minerals," Asmith explained. "They're living tissue." Julie withdrew her hand, and I immediately missed her touch. "So what happens next?" she asked, looking between me and Asmith. "Next we help Ben master his evolving abilities," Grandpa Mac said. "And deal with the Forever Knights propaganda campaign before it causes a panic. And find Onimo before he tries to add me to his twisted zoo," I added. "One problem at a time," Gwen suggested. "Ben needs to learn control, especially if his powers are still evolving." "Agreed," Asmith said. "I suggest starting with energy manipulation, since that appears to be one of the more volatile aspects of your transformation." I nodded, looking down at my hands where energy occasionally sparked between my fingers without conscious effort on my part. "Lead the way." The plumbers had a training room designed to withstand pretty much anything, which was good considering my unpredictable abilities. Gwen stood across from me on the padded floor, energy glowing around her hands. "Focus on the feeling of the energy inside you," she instructed. "Visualize it flowing through your body, gathering in your hands." I closed my eyes, concentrating on the strange tingling sensation that had become constant throughout my body. I could feel it now, currents of power flowing along the green circuit patterns in my skin, pooling in my palms. "Now direct it," Gwen continued. "Give it shape and purpose." I opened my eyes, extending my hands. Green energy crackled between my fingers, similar to chromostones but with hints of other energies mixed in, feedback's electricity, NRG's radiation, Atomix's nuclear power. "That's it," Gwen encouraged. "Now try to form it into a sphere." I focused, willing the chaotic energy to condense. It partially obeyed, forming an unstable orb that pulsed and sparked in my palms. "Now release it toward that target," Gwen said, pointing to a reinforced dummy across the room. I thrust my hands forward, sending the energy sphere flying. It struck the dummy with more force than I'd intended, vaporizing it and blasting a crater in the wall behind. "Oops," I winced. "A bit too much power," Gwen noted calmly. "Try again, but imagine turning down the volume, like a dial." We continued for hours, working through different energy types and control exercises. By the end, I could form basic energy constructs and direct them with moderate accuracy, though the power levels remained difficult to regulate. Kevin took over next, helping me with the physical transformations that were beginning to manifest. "You've got to feel the different materials," he explained, demonstrating by absorbing metal from a nearby pipe. "Each has its own texture, density, strength." I focused on the crystalline growth on my shoulder, trying to feel its structure, its composition. To my surprise, I could sense it at a molecular level, understanding its lattice pattern. I concentrated on extending that pattern, willing it to grow. The crystal spread down my arm, encasing it in a clear green shell that caught the light. "Not bad," Kevin approved. "Now try to retract it." That proved harder, but after several attempts, I managed to will the crystal back to its original size. "The key is knowing it's part of you now," Kevin said. "Not something separate you're turning into, but an aspect of yourself you can call on when needed." By the end of the day, I'd made progress with several abilities: Heat Blast's flames, XLR 8 speed, Diamond Head's crystals, and various energy manipulations. Others remained frustratingly out of reach or unpredictable. "You're doing well," Grandpa Max assured me as we took a break. "Remember, you've had years to practice with individual aliens. This is entirely new territory." I collapsed into a chair, exhausted. The training had accelerated my transformation further, the crystal formation had spread to both shoulders, and my fingers now ended in slightly claw-like tips with a green luminescence underneath. "At this rate, I'll be unrecognizable by tomorrow," I said, examining my altered hands. "You'll still be Ben," Grandpa Max said firmly. Julie, who had been watching the training, sat beside me. "Your grandpa's right. No matter what you look like on the outside, you're still you inside." I wanted to believe that, but as my body changed, I could feel my mind changing too. Not in a bad way, necessarily, but different, alien thought patterns and instincts merging with my human ones, creating new neural pathways, new ways of perceiving the world. "Sometimes I'm not so sure," I admitted. "It's not just how I look, Julie. It's how I think, how I feel. Everything's shifting." She took my hand, carefully lacing her fingers through mine despite their altered shape. "Then we'll figure it out together, day by day." Before I could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Grandpa Max's communicator beeped, and his expression hardened as he answered it. "Trouble downtown," he reported after listening. "The Forever Knights rally has turned violent. They're using their new scanners to identify citizens with alien genetics, mostly innocent humans with plumber ancestors or alien heritage several generations removed." I stood immediately. "We need to stop this." "Ben, your appearance." Gwen began. "I know," I cut her off. "But I can't hide while people are being targeted because of me. The Knights are using my transformation to justify this witch hunt. I need to face them." Grandpa Max studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "You're right. But you won't go alone." 20 minutes later, we were downtown in plumber vehicles, approaching the rally. The scene was chaotic. The Knights had cordoned off a section of the city center and were scanning anyone trying to leave. Those whose scans showed even trace alien DNA were being detained in temporary holding cells. "This is illegal on about 12 different levels," Gwen said angrily. "Forget the legal issues," Kevin replied. "Look at the crowd. Half of them are supporting this." He was right. A large group of citizens had gathered, many holding anti-alien signs. Some were even helping the Knights, pointing out neighbors or co-workers they suspected of alien heritage. "It's just like witch hunts throughout history," Julie said quietly from beside me. "People using fear to turn against those who are different." I pulled my hood lower, though it hardly mattered now. My altered appearance was impossible to hide completely. "Let's put an end to this." We approached the main checkpoint, where the Knight commander was supervising the scans. He spotted us immediately, his face lighting up with malicious satisfaction. "Benjamin Tennyson. How convenient of you to deliver yourself to us," he called out. "Or should I even call you Benjamin anymore? How much of the human boy remains under that alien corruption?" I stepped forward, letting my hood fall back. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they saw my transformed features in person, the green-tinted skin with circuit patterns, the solid green eyes, the crystalline growths at my shoulders. "Enough to know what you're doing is wrong," I said, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent gathering. "These people you're detaining are citizens of Earth. Many of them don't even know they have alien ancestors." "Alien blood is alien blood," the commander retorted. "The corruption spreads through generations, weakening humanity. You are merely the most visible example." "There is no corruption," I said firmly. "Just diversity. Humans with alien heritage aren't a threat, they're people with families, jobs, lives here on Earth." "Says the boy who is rapidly becoming an alien himself," the commander countered. "Look at him, citizens of Bellwood. This is the future aliens want for humanity: transformation, replacement. Murmurs spread through the crowd. I could see the fear and uncertainty in their eyes as they looked at me. I didn't choose this transformation, I said, addressing the crowd directly. But it doesn't change who I am or what I stand for. I've protected Earth since I was 10 years old, human and alien alike. Noble sentiments, the commander sneered. But actions speak louder. Release our detainees, and perhaps we'll believe your commitment to human law. Those detentions are illegal, Grandpa Mac said, stepping forward in his plumber uniform. These people have committed no crimes. Their very existence is an infiltration of our planet, the commander shouted, playing to the crowd. And the plumbers have hidden this alien presence from humans for generations. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. I could see the knights positioning themselves strategically, weapons ready. The crowd was growing more agitated, some shouting anti-alien slogans, others arguing back in defense of the detainees. This ends now, I said, stepping forward. I focused on my energy manipulation training from earlier, gathering power in my hands. Green light flowed along the circuit patterns in my skin, pooling in my palms. Will you attack humans to defend aliens, Tennyson? The commander challenged. Prove our point that your loyalty has shifted. I'm not attacking anyone, I replied, raising my glowing hands. I'm showing everyone the truth. I released the energy in a controlled burst upward, where it exploded like a firework. As the light rained down, I focused on Ghost Freak's abilities, projecting an intangible energy field that passed through the knight's scanning equipment. The devices sparked and failed, their screens showing error messages. Your scanners are detecting alien DNA in everyone, I explained, lowering my hands. Because all human DNA contains elements shared with species across the universe. We're all connected, human, alien, and everything in between. Lies, the Knight Commander sputtered. Our technology is based on stolen alien tech you barely understand, I cut him off. Just like you barely understand the universe beyond Earth. There are peaceful aliens who have lived alongside humans for generations. Who have fallen in love with humans, started families, contributed to human society. I gestured to the detainees. These people aren't infiltrators. They're your neighbors, your friends, maybe even your family. And they've been here all along, living peaceful lives. Some in the crowd were beginning to look uncertain, glancing between me and the detained citizens, ordinary-looking people bewildered by the situation they'd found themselves in. Don't listen to the alien sympathizer, the commander shouted desperately. Look at him. He's not even human anymore. Maybe not entirely, I acknowledged, the green energy continuing to flow visibly through my skin's circuit patterns. But I'm still Ben Tennyson. I still care about protecting people, all people. That hasn't changed, even if my appearance has. A young woman pushed forward through the crowd. Ben saved my little brother last year when that fire broke out at the elementary school. I don't care what he looks like, he's a hero. An older man joined her. He stopped those hybrid ships from destroying our planet. Aliens or humans, we'd all be dead without him. More voices joined in, people sharing stories of times I'd helped them, saved them, protected the city. Not everyone, of course, plenty still looked afraid or angry. But enough to turn the tide of public opinion at this gathering. The Knight Commander could see he was losing control. Enough. Knights, prepare to, he never finished the order. A massive explosion rocked the far end of the square, sending people scattering in panic. Through the rising smoke, I could see strange silhouettes emerging, creatures that were neither fully animal nor machine, but twisted combinations of both. What now? Kevin groaned, absorbing metal from a nearby lamppost. Onimo, I said, recognizing the mad scientist's handiwork. Perfect timing, as usual. The hybrid creatures surged into the square, wolves with mechanical limbs, eagles with reptilian features, bears with insectoid appendages. And leading them, riding on what appeared to be a cybernetically enhanced gorilla, was Dr. Onimo himself. "Citizens of Bellwood," he announced through a megaphone. "Behold the future of evolution, guided, perfected evolution. Why fear the alien when we can control the blending of species ourselves?" "Great, now we have two lunatics to deal with," Gwen muttered, her hands already glowing with mana. The Forever Knights found themselves facing a new threat, their anti-alien rhetoric momentarily forgotten as Onimo's creations charged into their ranks. The Knight Commander barked orders, redirecting his forces to counter this new threat. "Get the civilians to safety," I told Gwen and Kevin. "I'll handle Onimo." "Ben, be careful," Julie warned. "He's obsessed with your transformation. This could be a trap." "Probably is," I agreed. "But I can't let him hurt anyone." I focused, calling on multiple alien abilities simultaneously. XLR-8 speed surged through me as I dashed toward Onimo, weaving between panicking civilians and battling knights. When one of Onimo's wolf machines lunged at me, I phased through it like Ghost Freak, then solidified behind it and blasted it with a burst of chromostone's energy. "Tennyson!" Onimo cackled when he spotted me. "My perfect specimen arrives. Your transformation has progressed beautifully. Sorry to disappoint you, Doc, but I'm not interested in being part of your collection," I called back, dodging a swipe from his gorilla mount. "Who said anything about a collection?" Onimo's eyes gleamed with mad intensity. "You're not a specimen to be collected, you're a prototype to be studied. The perfect fusion of human, alien, and technology." I blasted the ground beneath the gorilla, forcing it back. "What are you talking about?" "Your transformation," Onimo said, as if explaining to a child. "The merging of multiple DNA sources into a harmonious whole. It's exactly what I've been trying to achieve with my own experiments." He gestured at his hybrid creatures. "But my creations are crude compared to you. Functional, but inelegant. Your transformation is at the cellular level, perfect integration rather than mere grafting." I launched myself upward, using Heat Blast's flames to propel me. Landing on a nearby roof, I sent a cascade of swampfire seeds raining down on Onimo's creatures. The seeds sprouted instantly, wrapping the hybrids in constraining vines. "If you think I'm going to help you create more monsters, you're crazier than usual," I shouted down to him. "Oh, but you already have helped me," Onimo replied, pressing something on his gauntlet. The gorilla mount leaped upward with unexpected agility, landing on the roof with me. "Your DNA signature has been most illuminating to study from afar. Imagine what I could learn with a direct sample." The gorilla lunged forward faster than I could react, its mechanical arm extending to grab me. I tried to phase through it, but something in its design disrupted my Ghost Freak abilities. Metal claws clamped around my arm, and I felt a sharp sting as a hidden needle extracted something, blood, tissue, I wasn't sure. "Got it." Onimo crowed triumphantly, as a small vial in his gauntlet filled with glowing green fluid. The perfect hybrid DNA sample. Anger surged through me, along with something else, wrath's instinctive rage. "Let me tell you something, Dr. Onimo," I roared, my voice deepening and taking on the apoplexian speech pattern. I grabbed the mechanical arm holding me, forearm strength allowing me to crush the metal. The gorilla screeched as its limb malfunctioned. Onimo looked alarmed as I advanced on him, green energy crackling along my skin. "Nobody takes Ben Tennyson's DNA without permission." I continued, the wrath influence strong in my voice. I could feel my body changing, becoming more muscular, more aggressive in stance. "Fascinating." Onimo breathed, even as he backed his damaged mount away. Multiple alien personality traits emerging. The integration is further along than I thought. I lunged at him, but the gorilla leaped from the roof, using its remaining functional limbs to swing away down the street. "This is just the beginning, Tennyson," Onimo called back. "Soon I'll perfect what you've started accidentally. A new species for a new era." I prepared to pursue him, but Gwen's voice called up from below. "Ben! We need help down here." I looked down to see the Forever Knights and plumbers struggling to contain the remaining hybrid creatures, while civilians were still in the danger zone. Onimo would have to wait. I jumped down, focusing on controlling the wrath influence that had temporarily taken over. The anger receded, and my stance and voice returned to normal, well, as normal as they could be given my transformed state. "Gwen, can you contain those cat lizard things by the fountain?" I called out, already moving toward a group of civilians trapped by one of Onimo's larger creations. Together, we managed to subdue the hybrid creatures and evacuate the remaining civilians. The Forever Knights, finding themselves fighting alongside plumbers and an increasingly alien Ben Tennyson, seemed confused by the shift in alliances. When the last of Onimo's creatures had been contained, the Knight Commander approached me cautiously. "This changes nothing, Tennyson," he said, though his voice lacked its earlier conviction. "Onimo is human, no matter how deranged. The alien threat remains." "The only threat I see," I replied, "is people who use fear to turn others against their neighbors. Whether it's you with your anti-alien crusade or Onimo with his hybrid monsters, the result is the same, innocent people getting hurt." The commander had no response to that. With a curt gesture to his knights, he retreated, leaving the cleanup to the plumbers. As the adrenaline of the fight faded, I became aware of the stares directed my way. My transformation had progressed visibly during the battle. The crystal formations now extended from my shoulders down my upper arms. My hands had changed further, fingers longer with a slight webbing between them. My face felt different too, the bone structure shifting subtly towards something not quite human. A news crew that had been covering the Forever Knights rally was now filming me, the reporter approaching cautiously. "Ben Tennyson," she called. "Can we get a statement about what's happening to you? The public is concerned about your transformation." I hesitated, looking to Grandpa Max for guidance. He nodded encouragingly. "I'm still me," I said to the camera. "My appearance is changing because the Omnitrix is merging with my DNA, but my commitment to protecting people hasn't changed. That's all that matters." "But are you still human?" the reporter pressed. The question hung in the air. A week ago, I would have answered automatically. Now, I wasn't so sure. "I'm Ben Tennyson," I said finally. "Human, alien, something in between, the labels matter less than the actions. Judge me by what I do, not what I look like." The reporter seemed unsatisfied with the answer, but Grandpa Max stepped in, ending the interview. As we headed back to the plumber vehicles, I could feel my body continuing to change, the transformation accelerated by the energy I'd expended during the fight. "Onimo got a sample of my DNA," I told Grandpa Max quietly. "Whatever he's planning, it's not good." "We'll find him," Grandpa Max assured me. "But right now, we need to get you back to headquarters. Your transformation is progressing rapidly." I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The constant changes, the fighting, the public scrutiny, it was all taking a toll. Julie slipped her hand into mine as we walked. "You did great back there. Standing up to the knights, saving people from Onimo's creatures. You showed everyone what really matters." I squeezed her hand gently, careful of my altered grip. "Thanks for sticking with me through this." She smiled, but I noticed it didn't quite reach her eyes. This was hard for her too, watching me change day by day into something increasingly alien. "Always," she said, and I wanted desperately to believe her. Back at Plumber headquarters, Azimuth examined me again, his expression growing more concerned as he took readings. "The transformation is accelerating beyond my projections," he announced. "The energy you expended fighting Onimo's creatures has catalyzed the process. How much time until it stabilizes?" I asked, watching new crystal formations emerging along my forearms even as we spoke. "At this rate, less than 48 hours, Azimuth replied. "But the final form will be more alien than I initially calculated. The balance between your human DNA and the alien sequences is shifting." "Meaning what, exactly?" Grandpa Max asked. Meaning, Azimuth said gravely, that Ben's final form will retain fewer human characteristics than anticipated. The alien DNA is becoming dominant in many physical aspects. The news hit me hard. I'd been holding on to hope that I'd still look mostly human when this was over, maybe with just some alien features that could be disguised or explained away. That hope was fading fast. Will I still be me mentally? I asked. Or will the alien instincts take over my mind too? Your core consciousness should remain intact, Azimuth assured me. But you're already experiencing alien thought patterns integrating with your own, are you not? I nodded, thinking of the Wrath episode during the battle. Sometimes an alien personality trait will surge forward, especially during combat or stress. That will likely continue, Azimuth said. Not as separate personalities, but as aspects of your expanded consciousness. Over time, they should integrate more smoothly. Julie, who had been quiet during the examination, finally spoke. What about his life? His future? Can he still live normally once this stabilizes? The question hung heavily in the air. Azimuth looked at me, then at Julie, understanding the deeper implications of her question. Defined normally, he said finally. Ben's life has never been what humans would consider normal, even before this transformation. He will need to adapt to his new form, and so will those around him. Julie's expression fell slightly, though she tried to hide it. I felt a pang in my chest, knowing what she was really asking: could we still have a future together? Could she have a normal life with someone who wasn't even human anymore? I need some air, I said, standing abruptly. No one tried to stop me as I left the examination room. I made my way to a quiet corner of the headquarters, a small observation deck overlooking the city. Bellwood spread out below, lights twinkling as evening fell. My home, where I'd grown up, had friends, went to school, all the normal things that were slipping away from me. I looked down at my transformed hands, the green circuit patterns pulsing with energy, the crystalline formations catching the light. Not human hands anymore. Would they ever hold Julie's again without her having to force herself not to flinch? There you are. I turned to find Kevin standing in the doorway. Not in the mood for company, I muttered. Tough, he replied, walking over to stand beside me. Gwen's worried about you. So's your grandpa. And Julie's trying not to cry in the hallway. Guilt washed over me. I didn't mean to upset her. Course you didn't, Kevin said. But this isn't exactly easy for anyone, especially her. She's watching her boyfriend turn into something she doesn't recognize. Thanks for the reminder, I said bitterly. Kevin shrugged. Just saying what everyone's thinking. Look, I get it better than most. I know what it's like to have your body change against your will, to become something that scares people. I glanced at him, remembering his various mutations over the years. At least you always changed back eventually. Yeah, but I never knew if I would. Each time, I had to face that maybe I'd be stuck that way forever. He leaned against the railing. The thing is, the outside changing doesn't have to mean the inside does too. That's up to you. I considered his words. I'm trying to stay me, but it's getting harder. The alien DNA isn't just changing how I look, it's changing how I think, how I feel. Earlier today, wrath took over for a minute. What happens when I can't control those impulses anymore? You will, Kevin said with surprising confidence. Because you're still Ben Tennyson, and you're too stubborn to let some DNA rewriting tell you who to be. Despite everything, I smiled slightly. When did you get so wise? I have my moments, he replied with a grin. Don't tell Gwen, she'll expect it all the time. A comfortable silence fell between us as we looked out over the city. Onimo's planning something big with that DNA sample, I said finally. He called me a prototype. Whatever he's doing, I think he's trying to create his own version of my transformation. Yeah, that tracks for his brand of crazy, Kevin agreed. We'll find him before he gets too far. I hope so. I stared at my reflection in the window glass, barely recognizing myself anymore. Because right now, I'm the scariest thing in Bellwood. I don't want to think about what Onimo could create with my DNA. Before Kevin could respond, an alert sounded through the facility. We exchanged glances before hurrying back to the command center. Grandpa Max was coordinating a response when we arrived. We've got multiple reports of unusual creatures in the warehouse district, he explained. Descriptions match Onimo's hybrids, but apparently they're evolving. Evolving how? Gwen asked, studying the incoming reports on a screen. Witnesses described them changing before their eyes, developing new features, including. He hesitated, looking at me. Including features similar to Ben's transformation. My stomach dropped. He's already using my DNA sample. Looks that way, Grandpa Max confirmed. We need to shut this down fast, before Onimo creates something we can't contain. I'm going, I said immediately. Ben, your transformation, Gwen began. Is happening regardless, I cut her off. At least this way it's useful. Onimo's doing this because of me. I need to stop him. Grandpa Max studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right. But full team deployment. This isn't a solo mission. As the plumbers mobilized, Julie approached me. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her expression was determined. Be careful out there, she said. And come back to me. I wanted to promise I would, but the truth was I didn't know what version of me would return after this mission. Instead, I gently touched her face. I'll try. The warehouse district was eerily quiet when we arrived. Too quiet, given the reports of multiple creatures in the area. The plumber team spread out in formation, weapons ready. I don't like this, Kevin muttered, absorbing metal from a nearby container. Feels like a trap. Definitely a trap, I agreed, my senses enhanced beyond human capability now. I could detect scents, sounds, and energy signatures that would have been invisible to me before. Onimo's creations are surrounding us. I can sense them. Where? Grandpa Max asked, trusting my perception. I pointed to various shadowed areas between warehouses. There, and there. At least a dozen. They're waiting. For what? Gwen whispered, mana glowing around her hands. As if in answer, a voice boomed from speakers hidden throughout the area. Benjamin Tennyson. Right on schedule. Spotlights activated, illuminating the space and revealing Onimo's creatures lurking exactly where I had sensed them. But they were different from before, more refined, less monstrous in their combinations. And all of them had green circuit-like patterns across their bodies, eerily similar to mine. Dr. Onimo himself appeared on a catwalk above, but he too had changed. His body was partially encased in cybernetic enhancements that seemed fused to his flesh, with the same green circuit patterns running through them. What have you done to yourself? I called up to him. I've evolved. Onimo declared proudly. Your DNA sample was most illuminating, Tennyson. The way the Omnitrix technology fuses with biological material. I couldn't resist experimenting on myself. You've gone completely insane, Gwen said, horror evident in her voice. Insane? No, my dear. Visionary. Onimo raised his arms, and his creatures moved forward in perfect synchronization. I've created the next step in evolution, controlled hybrid transformation. And it's all thanks to you, Ben. The creatures charged. They moved with greater coordination than before, clearly under Onimo's direct control somehow. And they were stronger, faster, each displaying abilities reminiscent of my alien forms, but twisted into something darker. Take them down. Grandpa Max ordered, and the battle began. I launched myself into the fray, calling on multiple alien powers. Diamond Head's crystals formed a protective shell over my body as I engaged 3 of Onimo's larger creations. They responded by developing crystalline formations of their own, countering my attacks. They're adapting. I shouted to the others. They're using my own powers against us. Of course they are, Onimo called down gleefully. Your DNA contains the transformation matrix now. My creations can access those same adaptive capabilities. This was bad. Very bad. Across the battlefield, plumbers were struggling against creatures that could counter their every move. Gwen's mana barriers were met with energy absorption. Kevin's metal form was countered by creatures developing magnetism abilities. I needed to end this quickly. Focusing inward, I tapped into the deepest levels of the Omnitrix energy flowing through me. The green circuit patterns across my body glowed brighter, power surging through my transformed body. Enough! I shouted, unleashing a wave of energy that knocked back the nearest creatures. This stops now, Onimo. I propelled myself upward, using a combination of heat blast's propulsion and stinkfly's wings that had partially formed from my back. Landing on the catwalk facing Onimo, I saw up close how extensive his self-experimentation had been. His body was a grotesque fusion of human, animal, and technology. The vial of my DNA was integrated into a device on his chest, feeding his transformation continuously. Magnificent, isn't it? He said, noticing my horrified gaze. Your transformation was accidental, chaotic. Mine is controlled, directed. I'm improving on your prototype, Tennyson. You're destroying yourself, I countered. The Omnitrix matrix wasn't designed to work this way. It's unstable without the proper safeguards. Perhaps for your limited understanding, Onimo sneered. But I've enhanced the process. Soon, I'll perfect it enough to offer this evolution to worthy humans everywhere. You're talking about transforming people against their will, I realized. Creating an army of hybrids. Creating the future. Onimo insisted. Why should aliens be the only species with superior abilities? Humanity can evolve beyond its limitations. Below us, the battle continued. Gwen and Kevin were holding their own, but other plumber teams were struggling. Onimo's creatures were becoming more coordinated, more effective with each passing moment. You're not evolving humanity, I said. You're corrupting it into something unnatural. My transformation was an accident, but at least the Omnitrix was designed by Azimuth to be safe, to protect the user's core identity. Safety limits progress, Onimo dismissed. But enough talk. Join us, Ben. Together, we could perfect this evolution, guide humanity to its next stage. Not interested, I growled, feeling Wrath's influence again. I fought it back, needing clear human thinking now more than ever. Then you leave me no choice, Onimo sighed theatrically. Your DNA will contribute to our evolution, whether you cooperate or not. He lunged forward with unexpected speed, cybernetic enhancements propelling him. I dodged, but he anticipated the move, countering with an attack pattern that seemed designed specifically to exploit my weaknesses. We fought across the catwalk, Onimo matching my every move. Worse, he seemed to be adapting to my fighting style in real time, the green circuits on his body pulsing as he analyzed and countered my attacks. You're not the only one who can evolve mid-battle, he cackled, his arm transforming into something resembling Wildvine's tentacles to grab me. I broke free, blasting him back with Chromastone's energy. The difference is I'm still me. You're losing yourself to this transformation. Losing? No, becoming. Onimo's face contorted as his features shifted, becoming more bestial. Becoming something beyond human limitations. The catwalk groaned beneath us as our battle intensified. Below, Onimo's creatures were gradually pushing back the plumber forces, adapting to their weapons and tactics. I needed to end this. The DNA sample feeding Onimo's transformation was the key, the vial integrated into the device on his chest. If I could remove it, maybe I could stop not only his transformation but also his control over the creatures. I feinted left, then struck with XLR 8 speed, aiming for the device. Onimo anticipated the move, grabbing my arm with inhuman strength. Predictable, he sneered. Your human thinking limits your potential. Something in his words struck a chord. Human thinking. Maybe that was the answer. Onimo was trying to control the transformation, to direct it logically. But my experience with the Omnitrix had taught me that transformation wasn't just about logical control, it was about instinct, intuition, the connection between mind and body. I stopped fighting against the alien instincts inside me and instead embraced them, letting them flow together with my human consciousness. The result was immediate and dramatic. My body responded in ways Onimo couldn't predict, combining alien abilities and patterns that defied logical analysis. I phased through his grip like Ghost Freak, then countered with Swampfire's regenerative methane, creating a cloud that ignited with Heatblast's flame. The explosion threw Onimo back against the railing. How? He gasped, his calculations disrupted by my unpredictable approach. You're trying to control something that can't be controlled, I explained, advancing on him. True transformation isn't about domination, it's about harmony between all aspects of yourself. Nonsense. Onimo snarled, but I could see doubt in his eyes as his body began to shift unpredictably, the transformation becoming unstable. I struck quickly, targeting the device on his chest. My hand, now more crystal than flesh, punched through his defenses and grasped the vial of my DNA. With a sharp pull, I tore it free from the apparatus. Onimo screamed as his transformation immediately began to unravel. The green circuits across his body flickered erratically, and his hybridized features began to revert sporadically. What have you done? He shrieked, his voice distorting as his vocal cords shifted back and forth between human and bestial. Saved you from yourself, I said, crushing the vial in my crystalline hand. The glowing DNA sample spilled between my fingers, its energy dissipating harmlessly. Below, the effect on Onimo's creatures was immediate. Without the controlling influence of my DNA, they became disoriented, their coordinated attacks falling into chaos. The plumbers quickly gained the advantage, containing the confused hybrids. Onimo collapsed to his knees, his body painfully shifting between human and hybrid forms as the transformation broke down. You've ruined everything, he gasped. The evolution, the future. This wasn't evolution, I said firmly. It was corruption. Real evolution happens naturally, over time. Plumber agents reached the catwalk, securing Onimo. Despite the reversal of his transformation, some changes appeared permanent: patches of scaled skin, a slightly altered facial structure, cybernetic components fused too deeply to remove. As they led him away, Onimo fixed me with a hateful stare. You think you've won? Look at yourself, Tennyson. You're becoming something beyond human, just as I attempted. The only difference is you pretend it wasn't your choice. His words stung because they contained a grain of truth. I hadn't chosen this transformation initially, but I had chosen to accept it, to work with it rather than fight it hopelessly. Was that so different from what Onimo had done? I pushed the thought aside as Gwen and Kevin joined me on the catwalk. Nice work, Kevin said, eyeing the crushed vial in my hand. Creepy, but nice. Are you okay? Gwen asked, studying my appearance with concern. I looked down at myself, realizing how much more I had changed during the battle. The crystal formations now covered much of my arms and had begun spreading across my chest. My fingers were fully transformed, longer and more articulated than human digits. I could feel additional changes throughout my body, altered internal organs, enhanced musculature, sensory perception beyond human capability. I'm still me, I said, and meant it. Despite the physical changes, I felt more centered, more integrated than before. The battle with Onimo had forced me to find harmony between my human consciousness and the alien aspects of my transforming self. Let's head back, Grandpa Mac said, joining us. Azimuth will want to examine you again after this exertion. As we left the warehouse district, I noticed people gathering at the perimeter, held back by police lines. News crews were filming, their cameras focused on me. My transformation was too advanced now to hide or disguise. Whatever I was becoming, the world was watching it happen. The examination room at Plumber headquarters was quiet except for the hum of Asmatha's equipment. The Galvan studied the readings with increasing interest, occasionally muttering to himself in his native language. "Fascinating," he said finally. "The battle with Onimo has accelerated your transformation beyond all projections. The integration is nearly complete. Is that good or bad?" I asked, watching new crystal formations emerge along my collarbone even as we spoke. "Neither. It simply is," Asmath replied. "But there is something unexpected. The way you merged your human consciousness with the alien instincts during battle, it has created a more harmonious integration than I anticipated." "Meaning what, exactly?" Grandpa Max asked. "Meaning," Asmath explained, "that Ben's final form will be more stable, more integrated than my calculations predicted. The balance between human and alien aspects is finding its own equilibrium, guided by Ben's own choices rather than purely biological processes. So I have some control over what I become?" I asked, hope rising. "To an extent," Asmath confirmed. "Your consciousness, your sense of self, is influencing the transformation. The more you integrate your human identity with the alien aspects, the more of Ben will remain in the final form." It was the most encouraging news I'd heard since this whole process began. I wasn't just passively transforming, my choices, my core self, were helping shape what I would become. The door opened, and Julie entered hesitantly. She stopped, her eyes widening as she took in my significantly altered appearance. "Julie," I said softly, suddenly self-conscious about how alien I must look to her now. She approached slowly, studying me. The changes were dramatic since she'd last seen me just hours ago. My skin was now predominantly green with black circuit patterns. Crystalline formations covered much of my upper body. My face had changed too, more angular, eyes completely alien, a slight crest forming along my scalp where hair had once been. "Can I?" she asked, her hand hovering near my face. I nodded, holding perfectly still as she gently touched my transformed features. Her fingers traced the contours of my face, the crystalline edges at my jawline, the smooth green skin with its embedded circuits. "Does it hurt?" she asked, the same question she'd asked days ago, but with deeper meaning now. "No," I said truthfully. "It feels right. Like my body is finally catching up to everything the Omnitrix has shown me over the years." She smiled sadly. "You're still you. I can see it in your eyes, even though they're different." "I'll always be me," I promised her. "No matter what I look like on the outside." Julie hesitated, then asked the question I knew was coming: "What happens next? After your transformation is complete?" I looked to Asmath, who had been watching our interaction with unusual patience. "Ben will need time to adjust to his final form," the Galvan stated. "To master his new abilities, to understand the limits and capabilities of his hybrid physiology." "But after that?" Julie pressed. "Can he live normally? Go to school? Have a life?" Asmath considered his words carefully. "Normal by human standards? No. Ben's appearance alone will make that impossible. He will be visibly alien to human perception. But a life? Yes. Different from what might have been, but still a life with purpose and meaning." Julie's expression fell slightly, though she tried to hide it. This was the reality neither of us had wanted to face, that my transformation would create a barrier between us, between the life we might have had together and whatever future awaited me now. "I should let you finish your examination," she said quietly, stepping back. "We can talk later." I watched her go, my enhanced senses picking up the elevated heartbeat that betrayed her emotional state, the subtle chemical changes indicating unshed tears. "She fears losing you," Asmath observed after the door closed. "I know," I said. "And she's not wrong. The Ben she fell in love with is changing into something else." "Not something else," Asmath corrected. Something more. Whether that more includes her is a question only you two can answer. The examination continued, but my mind remained on Julie, on the increasingly uncertain future of our relationship. As my body transformed beyond human, could human connection survive? Would Julie stay with someone who looked alien, who might live far longer than a human lifespan, who would never be accepted as normal in human society? I didn't have answers. None of us did. We were in uncharted territory. When the examination concluded, Asmuth announced his findings to the gathered group: Grandpa Max, Gwen, Kevin, and a few key plumber officials. Ben's transformation will be complete within 12 hours, he stated. The final form will be stable but predominantly alien in appearance and capability. While retaining his human consciousness and memories, he will possess abilities beyond any single species in the Omnitrix catalog. Will he be able to transform back to human? One of the officials asked. Asmuth shook his head. No. The fusion is permanent and irreversible. Ben Tennyson as a purely human entity no longer exists. In his place is the first of what could be considered a new species, a hybrid of human, Omnitrix technology, and multiple alien DNA sequences. The words hit hard, even though I'd known this was coming. Permanent. Irreversible. A new species. The finality of it was overwhelming. What does this mean for Ben's status? Another official asked. Legally, civilly. That's for your governments to determine, Asmuth replied. But I would suggest that whatever he is biologically, Ben Tennyson has earned the right to be treated as a person, with all the rights and responsibilities thereof. Grandpa Max stepped forward. Ben will continue to have the full support and protection of the plumbers, regardless of his biological classification. His service to Earth and the galaxy stands on its own merits. I appreciated Grandpa Max's support, but the question remained, what would my life be once the transformation was complete? Would I be confined to plumber facilities, too alien to move freely in human society? Would I become a permanent outsider, belonging neither to Earth nor to any alien world? As the meeting broke up, I found myself alone with Gwen. What are you thinking? She asked, reading my troubled expression. That I don't know where I fit anymore, I admitted. Not human, not alien, something in between. Where does someone like me belong? Gwen considered this. Maybe you don't have to fit into existing categories. Maybe you're creating a new space, building a bridge between worlds. That sounds noble, but pretty lonely, I said. It doesn't have to be. She placed her hand on my crystalline arm. You're not alone, Ben. You have family, friends, people who care about you no matter what you look like. I wanted to believe her, but I'd seen the reactions, the fear in strangers' eyes, the hesitation even in those closest to me. As my appearance became more alien, those reactions would only intensify. I need to talk to Julie, I said finally. Really talk, about what happens after this transformation is complete. Gwen nodded. That's probably a good idea. She's in the observation deck. I found Julie where Gwen had said, gazing out at the night sky. She turned as I approached, her expression unreadable. Hey, I said, stopping a few feet away, giving her space. Hey yourself, she replied with a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. We need to talk, I said. About us. About what happens after. After you're not human anymore, she finished for me. I nodded, the crystal formations on my head catching the starlight. Yeah. Julie was silent for a long moment, gathering her thoughts. I've been thinking about it constantly, she finally said. Trying to imagine what our future looks like. And I don't know, Ben. Her voice trembled slightly. I love you. That hasn't changed. But everything else has. Will be. You'll be something new, something alien, I supplied when she hesitated. Yes. She looked at me directly. And not just in appearance. You'll live differently, age differently, need different things. You might even outlive me by centuries, from what Azimuth has hinted. The thought hadn't occurred to me, but she was right. The alien DNA integrating with mine included species with lifespans far beyond human years. I don't want to hold you back, I said. If this is too much, don't, she cut me off. Don't make this easy by offering me an out. This isn't about what's easy. It's about what's possible. And what do you think is possible for us? I asked, afraid of the answer. Julie stepped closer, looking up at my transformed face. I don't know. And that's the truth. I want to say that nothing will change between us, that I can handle anything. But I'd be lying to both of us. Her honesty hurt, but I appreciated it. False promises would only lead to more pain later. So where does that leave us? I asked. In the unknown, she said simply. I can't promise forever, Ben. Not now. But I can promise to try. To see where this leads, to give us a chance to figure out what's possible. It wasn't the unconditional acceptance I might have hoped for, but it was real. Honest. And maybe that was better than comforting lies. That's all I can ask, I said, gently taking her hand. My transformed fingers, longer, crystalline, alien, entwined with her human ones. Different, but still connected. We stood together in silence, looking out at the stars, both wondering what the future held for a human girl and a boy who was becoming something the universe had never seen before. Morning brought the final stages of my transformation. I woke in the Plumber medical bay to find my body undergoing its most dramatic changes yet. The crystal formations had spread across much of my torso and were beginning to extend down my legs. My internal organs had rearranged, some replaced entirely by alien analogs. My senses had sharpened beyond anything I'd experienced before, perceiving wavelengths of light, sound, and energy previously invisible to me. Azimuth monitored the process, his expression a mixture of scientific fascination and concern. The final integration is proceeding rapidly, he noted as I examined my increasingly alien form. How do you feel? Different, I said, surprised by the resonant quality my voice had taken on. But still me. Good. That suggests your consciousness is maintaining integrity despite the physical changes. The door opened, and Grandpa Max entered with Gwen and Kevin. They stopped, taking in my dramatically altered appearance. Ben? Gwen asked hesitantly. Still me, cuz, I assured her, managing a smile despite my transformed face. Just with some upgrades. Kevin let out a low whistle. Gotta say, you make a pretty impressive alien hybrid. I glanced at my reflection in a nearby monitor. The face looking back was barely recognizable as Ben Tennyson. Green skin with circuit patterns. Solid green eyes with diamond-shaped pupils. A crystalline crest where hair had been. Features that combined elements of multiple alien species with just hints of my former human appearance. And yet, despite the dramatic changes, I could still see myself in that reflection. Not the human boy I'd been, but the essence of who I was, the personality, the values, the core identity that remained unchanged despite my transformed exterior. The public is asking questions, Grandpa Max said. News of your transformation has spread worldwide. People want to know what's happening, whether you're still, you. And whether I'm a threat. I guessed. Grandpa Max nodded reluctantly. Some are concerned, yes. The Forever Knights have been fueling those fears, claiming your transformation proves their warnings about alien influence. We need to get ahead of this, Gwen suggested. Show people that Ben is still Ben, still a hero regardless of what he looks like. How? I asked. Look at me. I can barely pass for human anymore. Maybe that's the point, Kevin said unexpectedly. Stop trying to pretend you're still the same old Ben Tennyson. You're something new now. Own it. I considered his words. There was wisdom there. Trying to cling to my human identity when my body had transformed so completely was perhaps doing more harm than good. You might be right, I admitted. But I need to finish transforming first, get control of whatever I'm becoming. As if triggered by my words, a wave of energy surged through me. The green circuit patterns across my body glowed brilliantly, and I felt a final rush of change sweeping through my system. Crystals spread to encompass more of my form. My internal structure solidified into its new configuration. Sensory organs adapted, expanded, transformed. When the wave passed, I stood changed. Complete. The transformation had reached its endpoint. It is done, Asmith announced, scanning me with his instruments. The integration is complete and stable. I examined myself, taking inventory of my new form. My body retained a humanoid shape but was now a fusion of multiple alien characteristics. Crystal formations covered strategic points, offering natural armor. The green circuit patterns had stabilized into symmetrical designs that pulsed with energy. My hands were more articulated, with an extra joint in each finger. My feet had transformed completely, more like Kickenhawk's taloned appendages than human feet. Most importantly, I could feel the alien powers at my disposal, not as separate transformations but as integrated aspects of my new physiology. Strength, speed, energy manipulation, phasing, flight, all accessible without changing form. Well? Kevin prompted. How's it feel to be a new species? Strange, I admitted. But also, right, somehow. Like all my transformations over the years were preparing me for this. Asmith nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps they were. The Omnitrix was designed to promote understanding between species. In you, that understanding has become literal integration. The facility alarms suddenly blared to life. Grandpa Max's communicator activated with an urgent message. We've got trouble, he announced grimly. The Forever Knights have launched simultaneous attacks on alien communities across Bellwood. They're calling it a cleansing to prevent Tennyson's fate from befalling others. Anger surged through me, my eyes glowing brighter with energy. They're using me as an excuse to attack innocent people. They're scared, Gwen said. Fear makes people do terrible things. Then it's time to show them there's nothing to fear, I decided, standing tall in my new form. Time to show everyone that being different doesn't make you dangerous. Ben, your transformation just completed, Asmith cautioned. You haven't had time to adjust to your new form, to master your integrated abilities. I don't have time, I replied. People are in danger because of me. I need to fix this. Grandpa Max studied me, seeing the determination in my alien eyes. This isn't just about stopping the Knights, is it? No, I admitted. It's about showing the world that I'm still a hero, still Ben Tennyson, no matter what I look like. And maybe showing myself too. He nodded in understanding. Then let's do this right. Full plumber support, coordinated response. As the plumbers mobilized, I caught sight of my reflection again. The being looking back at me was alien, powerful, unlike anything Earth had seen before. But inside that transformed body was still Ben Tennyson, still a hero, still determined to protect others, still me. Whatever came next, I would face it as myself, changed, evolved, but unbroken in spirit and purpose. The transformation was complete. Now came the harder part, showing the world that heroes come in all forms, even ones that challenge our understanding of what it means to be human. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.